Hello and welcome to Films for the Very First Time. This is our season finale as we wrap up our first season of recording episodes about movies or TV shows we have not seen. Uh, this week I picked a film that Casey hasn't seen, and then I'll introduce him now. Somebody that's with me every episode, Casey McGeorge.
Oh, how's it going, everybody?
It's good. You sound sleepy, and I feel the same way.
I'm all right. It's the last day of my vacation, so I go back to work tomorrow, and
That
today's
really
just gonna be
sucks.
a today's just gonna be a lazy day. I'm kind of ready. 2 weeks is more than enough for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about some films for you with you before we end up having to take a little bit of a hiatus here. We mentioned it like last week. I just want to kind of get it off at the top of the show again here. This will be the end of season one. We'll probably come back in the fall, like a normal TV show schedule, and come back with our uh, whichever film that Casey will pick. Did you already make your selection, or are you waiting until?
I have not.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait till we get closer, mainly because we'll see what's out there, and then plus we'll see what's actually available streaming at the time,
Yes.
because that's 4 or 5 months from now,
Yep.
which is a lifetime in streaming eras. So some of these services might not even be around by the time we come back. And who knows what's going to be available on them when we do.
Yeah, so we are talking. I guess I'll say the movie now. We are going to be talking Weird, the Al Yankovic story, which was 2022 Roku original film. It premiered November 4th, 2022, um, on the Roku channel, which is a free to air thing, even if you don't have Roku television. It's written by Al Yankovic and Eric Appel, directed by Eric Appel, and is based off of a sketch from Funny or Die, which originally starred Aaron Paul as Weird Al in that sketch. And this movie instead stars Daniel Radcliffe, Evan Rachel Wood, Rainn Wilson, Toby Huss, and Julianne Nicholson, along with a whole host of other cameos with famous comedians littered throughout the film here.
Yeah,
So, yeah, go ahead.
so when I rented this on Amazon, I didn't bother trying to download and set up another account with Roku
Oh,
and
okay.
everything else. I just spent the like $4.50 to rent it. But I didn't know this was a Funny or Die thing at all. Like, one, I didn't know this was made by Funny or Die. Two, I had no
Hmm.
idea the previous sketch. And three, I didn't know Funny or Die was getting into like
Film.
making movies at all. Um, th- th- they've done some pretty good stuff on their channel. I don't know if they really. I think I heard it shut down or something a while back, or like they're not making new content. I don't know. That was a while back that I heard that, and who knows how accurate that is anyway. But my favorite things from them were Zach Morris's Trash, which was always a great
Oh,
watch,
yes.
and very special episode where they would tear apart like
Yes.
very special episodes from the 80s. One in particular, which from Mr. Belvedere, that literally will put tears in my eyes every time I watch it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they Funny or Die was created by wasn't didn't Will Ferrell have something to do with that?
Yeah, maybe it was just Will Ferrell was leaving it or something. I think the very first sketch was like his daughter was like some a-hole landlord swearing at
Yes.
him and everything. So yeah, it was I know Will Ferrell was involved in the very beginning, and I don't know what's going on with it
It
anymore.
was founded by Will Ferrell, Adam McKay, Mark Kavame, and Chris Henchy.
Is it still going strong, or
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it was I heard that Ferrell was leaving it or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It says it's still active, so They've done they originally Drunk History was released on Funny or Die as well.
Okay, that I can see that fits. That kind of makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So they had a few shows that were like that they produced.
Picked up on by Comedy Central and stuff.
Yeah, and movies they have they have a bunch of a handful of movies that have been produced by them. Um yeah, but I recommend if nobody's watched this, it you'll see like the bones of this movie in that trailer. Um it's originally like so that trailer was a parody of biopics at the time. So how long ago was this Funny or Die sketch? 2010.
Jesus.
Yes, and it was produced by the same the same person, Eric Appel, did that. Um,
2010 is such a lifetime ago.
14 years ago already. But now it's like the movie came out at a time where like biopics were really rampant, right? We had like Bohemian Rhapsody, we had the Elton
Rocket
John
Man,
one, we
yeah.
had
Uh,
Rocket Man.
the NWA one, uh, Straight Out
Yeah,
Compton.
yeah, they were like everywhere, and we're getting more of them too. Like Elvis, right? Like Elvis was out around then. We're getting four Beatles ones where they like each have their own film, and like those are coming up. We're getting a lot.
Really?
Michael Jackson's getting one. Yeah.
Is it because well, two of the Beatles have passed,
Hmm.
so you only got two left? Is it because like the estates can't kind of come together and get one?
No, it's like it's being all directed by the same guy, and
Oh,
he's
so it's gonna be
directing
like a
four
series.
movies. Yeah, yeah. Each
Okay,
one following a different Beatle, I guess.
that could be interesting to see, just to see how, especially you can take maybe the same situation. I don't know exactly what happened with
Like
the
the same
Beatles.
scene or something from a different perspective.
Yeah, or not even the same scene. Maybe I don't know what happened with the Beatles as far as how they split up, or what, if there were any ill feelings from one member to the other after they split, and how they thought about each other. But maybe the same scene, but more like some of the same, just same things that happen, and how it can, how you can have one person, and we've seen this done in some movies. One person can have one perspective on it or look at it one way, but another one could have maybe had more information, which caused them to look at it a different way, or didn't have as much information, and consequently that caused, like, maybe that it can kind of show how some of those rifts could have happened.
Yeah, so this is mainly a parody of like that kind of stuff, which is still in a huge, this is still a huge business, but um, we'll come back around to that. So I don't want to ask like where you were in 2022 for this
It was
movie
2 years
because
ago.
it's 2 years ago. I knew where you were, but also it's like yeah, it was released on Roku. You don't have an account for that. It's not whatever. But what I want to get more of, like, your just history with Weird Al. How well do you know of the guy? Like, how many songs do you think you've heard? Like, what is your impression of Weird Al before we watched the film?
Okay, so two things before we move into that. One, I would love to see a biopic on Dolly Parton. Like, she's America's
Yes.
sweetheart right now.
Yeah.
I think we definitely deserve to see a biopic, if we haven't already, on Dolly Parton. Especially, I need to know what's going on with Jolene. Like, I want the story behind Jolene. We got to know if this is a real person, what happened, what caused Jolene to happen, and why she's been getting drugged for like the last 40 or 50 years. Number two, did not know. I should have expected it. I thought this was just, I thought this was a straight biopic of Weird Al. I did not know this was a
That's
Weird
why.
Al.
That's why I didn't tell you. I really wanted to see what you
And,
what
and
you
I
were
went
gonna
into this.
say.
I went into this without like looking that information up. I thought this was a legitimate like biopic, not a Weird Alification of a biopic. which I'm not against it. I'm just saying, like, different expectations.
Yes.
Um, so my experiences and with Weird Al, I'm a kid of the '80s, as you know. I grew up. I was born '78, so I grew up during the '80s as a child. So a lot of the stuff, a lot of the songs and various things that they showed in this movie, I remember seeing and hearing them as a kid. I remember like a surgeon. I remember Eat It and Fat. And I remember vaguely later, even though it came first, My Bologna, stuff
Hmm.
like that. I always enjoyed his parodies. Um, they're very creative. They're hilarious. The, and it's one thing to listen to a song; it's another thing to watch his music videos
Yes.
because you can kind of you can laugh and giggle at a parody song just by hearing it, but when you look at the work that goes into the videos that he puts out for like Fat and Eat It, Like a Surgeon, Smells Like Nirvana. I think there was one called Headline News,
Yes. Yeah.
Amish Paradise, stuff like that. It takes it to a whole different level, um, and that's where a lot of the fun really comes into place.
Yeah, and even for, I think it was for Fat and Eat It, Michael Jackson would like I forget which one it was for specific. I think it was Fat, where Michael Jackson like helped him get the same exact
Oh, the shoe
like
location, the
shooting
subway.
location. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that. I heard Michael Jackson was a fan of the parodies.
Yes.
I think we talked about this before. Initially, Coolio was not. He was very
Yes, a
upset
little reference to that in this movie as well.
At Amish Paradise. However, they did get a chance to make up before Coolio passed
Mhm.
last year, the year before. So that's good to hear. Um, Another thing in this movie, if you weren't sure, I don't know if he has to get permission to do the parodies. I think he's protected. I think
Yeah,
he's protected where he doesn't have to,
legally he doesn't have to, but he does.
as like a
He
sign of respect and just to
yes.
kind of reach out. The one he could never get, which I kind of would love to have seen, was Prince. He could never get
Oh, yes.
a, a permission from Prince, which is kind of why in the end there was a little shot at Prince there in the
Mhm.
award show. Um, and I really would love to have seen what he could have done with like when Doves Cry or Purple Rain or his Batman songs like
Raspberry Beret I feel
Kiss,
like would be one for like
Raspberry
some food
Sorbet or
one.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kiss. There's so many things he could have done, and it would have been great. But unfortunately, and I mean, he could like I guess you said he could have just done it, but you know he didn't really enjoy having like beef with these people making you know
Mhm.
parodies of their songs.
He's in the
So
same industry, like he doesn't want to piss people off. Like uh so he has a song called Couch Potato, which is a parody of Lose Yourself, Eminem. Eminem approved the song, but he did not Weird Al couldn't get permission to do a music video of it. So there's no music video for that song. And then there's ones like you said with Coolio and like Amish Paradise. It was originally like he had gotten permission, but then like Coolio, it turned out like Coolio didn't actually approve it. It was like his people did, and it kind
yeah,
of
like his
created some
management
beef
group or
with that. Yeah.
whoever his handlers or PR people or manager or stuff agent approved it, but like he either didn't get the word or he didn't get the full information of what was happening, and that kind of caused the issue, stuff like that. Um,
And he's done that like the James Blunt, I believe it was a song "You're Beautiful." Um, he had a parody of that he got permission for, but then he like James Blunt pulled the permission, I believe, and Weird Al didn't put it on his album then, but still released it as a free download. As like, I'm not making any money off of this. Here's it for free because it was already so far in the process of
It might
being
already
made
been
at that
done.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know about the Eminem one. I don't know why he didn't let him use the video, or make a video out of it. That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm not really sure either. you you know, it is what it is, I guess at that point. But he's I'll say he's a great showman. If you go in concert and see him, he is usually puts on a really great show. But no surprise, I am a huge Weird Al fan. Started listening to him in probably middle school and just have listened to him constantly. I was just listening to him yesterday. Um, Partly anticipation for rewatching the movie, but I would say I probably still listen to him about once a month. Put on a Weird Al album while I'm driving or doing some work around the house.
I would I would hear it maybe I would hear something of his probably about the same. I used to I have a bunch of Google Homes in my apartment, like in my bedroom, living room, stuff like that. That I don't use much anymore. But what I used to do is when I would go to bed at night, one of the routines I had set up was it would play stand up comedy station by Pandora.
Oh, nice. And
And
sometimes it'd come on there.
yeah, a bunch of some of his stuff will come on there every now and then.
All right, yeah, I guess we can just dive into it here. This movie, like I said, is a parody of other movies. There are some hidden truths and some real, I guess, basis of storylines that actually happen. But uh, the beginning of this movie is very much a parody. Young Al learning and wanting the accordion, and his dad being very anti accordion music, like making fun of his son of like you what's the point of changing the words to a song? And this is Al poking at himself too. There's a few times where he'll mention like, who does that? Like, take the words of somebody else's
Yeah.
song and like change them. And like, it's Al definitely poking at himself there a bit. But his dad was very vehemently against it. His parents were actually supportive of the accordion, and actually were the ones that got the accordion from the traveling salesman. That was true. The traveling salesman is how he got his first accordion.
I saw that, which is great. Also, I can never look at Thomas Lennon and not think of Lieutenant Dangle.
Yes.
Like, I know he's done so much other stuff, and he is great in general. He's a hilarious guy, no matter what he's in, whether he's doing regular acting or like he's doing some voice. He's done a bunch of voice acting, and I can always pick his voice out. But every time I see him or hear him, all I can think of is Lieutenant Dangle. Um, and I just I guess I'm part of the problem of pigeonholing people because I just all I get is Dangle, and it's just so unfair for someone who's so fantastic at what they do.
Yeah, it's interesting like seeing a lot of these people just show up as different roles. I mean, this movie is loaded with cameos and who's playing who. Uh the Like you said, Thomas Lennon playing the well, actually the movie really starts off with the ER thing, and you see Lin Manuel Miranda as the doctor, and it rewinds to the beginning with the accordion. So when did you realize this was going to be a made up thing? Did you notice like as soon as this begins with the hospital thing, or did it take
No,
it like a bit?
no, because I don't know much about Weird Al's life.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm watching this, and after I figured that out, when I started going down the rabbit hole and trying to look at stuff, um, I didn't know he was a pretty religious guy and that he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, and and no knock against that, but I didn't know. So like obviously, okay, the him jumping up out of the like where they think he's dead and he's like, give me a pen and pencil, like, okay, obviously that probably wouldn't have happened. But to think that maybe there might have been some turmoil and maybe he did almost end up dying at some point from like a drug overdose or something like that, like especially with what we know about musicians and everything, isn't unrealistic to think. You know, like I said, I didn't know anything about his life. Honestly, it wasn't until we got to the traveling accordion salesman where I was like, okay, this is a
When
little
his
weird.
dad's beating the crap out of him.
Not even that. The fact when we get to the traveling accordion salesman, which we later find out, like you said, actually
Was
happened,
real.
or like when I read up, like that is actually how he got his first accordion. And then yeah, once his dad starts beating the crap out of a traveling accordion salesman, or maybe a little bit before, where his dad's like, "Well, I lost my hand at that damn factory. What do we?" And
Yeah.
I
And
still
we'll
don't
get you a
think
job there.
I still don't think no matter I still don't think they ever said what they make in that damn factory
No, they didn't.
throughout the whole throughout the whole movie. But that was about the time I was like, okay, this is a little weird. And then yeah, when he's beating up Thomas Lennon there, and then especially when his mom's like, hey, we're trying to have a moment here. I'm like, okay, this is I think this is a Weird Al movie to the fullest extent. Let me look this up. Oh wow, it actually is.
Yeah, it's yeah, so his dad just beats the crap out of this guy. We'll find out why he is so anti-accordion. But then one of my favorite parts is actually the teenage Al, because I think the kid who plays him is like really good, really good young Weird Al. But he goes like his friends want to go to a party, and you're thinking like typical high schoolers. It's a party,
Yeah.
like booze and all that. It's a polka party. And he busts out the accordion, and they're like, "You want to try it, don't you?"
What about when he's sitting there reading a book and he's hiding the accordion, the polka book,
Magazine,
it like
and
the
it looks like a
magazine in it?
pinup model on it. Yeah,
Yeah, like it's a Playboy or a
smut.
comic book or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah. Very funny with the polka party. The cops come for no reason. It's a polka party, but
Your
uh,
son was playing the accordion.
and they're like, "No, he was inside." Oh, it's a hay boy. Yeah, it's this idea of like putting a boy of hay in your bed that kind of comes back around.
Where did he get the hay from in the first place?
I have no
Like,
clue.
th- like I don't know where Weird Al is from. Uh, if
California, right? Linwood, I believe.
I was gonna say if there's factories around, I would have thought maybe somewhere in the Midwest. Um, Especially considering we find out later his dad grew up Amish, so that would
Hmm.
put me maybe in the Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, upstate New York region. So that's kind of what I thought. Um,
Yeah, it's Linwood, California, which is in LA County. So probably around LA.
Funny, probably more, maybe towards Orange County. Funny story, or not really funny, but I didn't know when I moved to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I get stationed there. In Kentucky, there is a population of Amish, and every now and
Oh,
then you would just randomly see them, like the horse and buggies, like going about their business, and like it's just from out of nowhere. You're like, wait a minute, like
we have quite a few up here where I am, and I worked at a bank right on the Pennsylvania Maryland line, and we had Amish people that come into the bank. They'd go through our drive-through with their horse and buggy, and they'd be putting money in the bank. It was crazy.
gotta ask you this question, and I don't know why this just came. Who cleans up the poop at the drive-through?
Our managers would,
I was gonna say that so they don't
not
have
me.
anybody. Well, they didn't have anybody who would kind of go around and take care of the horse manure afterwards. They just
No,
kind of let it sit there. That kind of
yeah,
sucks.
manager would have to go out there afterwards with the sweeping can thing and like brush it in.
Man.
Yeah. Um, so we kind of fast forward from here to Al is trying to audition with all of these other bands. We had a familiar face here too. Did you recognize the? I'm forgetting the actor's name, but he was in the punk band, but he was in Superstore.
No.
as the oh as like the rapper that was Cheyenne's boyfriend.
Bo?
Yes.
You want to know where I just saw Bo?
No, where at?
In the Fallout TV show that just came out.
Really?
Yes. Which is, I've seen 2 episodes. It's pretty good so far. It's getting
I never played the
phenomenal reviews.
games.
So I started Fallout 3 again
Watching.
after that. Yeah.
It's gonna bother me if I can't find this guy's name, so I'm looking it up.
I know who you're talking
Um,
about. I just can't think of his name.
but yeah, he's in the he's Cheyenne's boyfriend Bo in the show, and he was like the leader of the punk band that we also see again um at the Johnny Pemberton. Johnny Pemberton. Come back around again when he does his Rocky Road singing. That band is the one that plays right before Al goes out there to sing Rocky Road. But yeah, so then he's trying out for these bands, and he's like, it seems like nobody wants an accordion player, which I thought was a funny line because obviously it's not a hit instrument, right? How many bands can you name that has an accordion player?
That's pretty niche audience you're trying to reach for right there.
Yeah, I mean, I
With an
really
accordion.
only know the accordion from Weird Al. Really, like I don't know any other famous person that plays the accordion.
That or like just polka music, like that's it. It's
Yeah.
one of the two.
So he's living with his roommates Steve, Jim, and Bermuda, who are his real bandmates in real life. And they're like, "Why don't you make us a sandwich?" And he goes over and starts making the sandwich. And My Sharona starts coming on the radio. And
Real quick,
they
real quick.
even call. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Two things. One, My Sharona, pretty underrated banger. Even though it's probably not underrated. But two, I can think of one other song that I know of that has a polka in it, and it just hit me. Shakira's Objection. Mainly because
Really?
it's called Objection Tango. So and
Oh, okay.
there's the accordion for especially in the very beginning, it kind of goes on the tango, has like
Huh.
a
I don't know if I know that song off the top of my head. I'll have to go look at
it's
it.
one of my favorite Shakira songs. So I like that just popped in my head like, oh yeah, that is an accordion in the beginning of that song, isn't it?
So so they do this thing where the song is playing and it keeps repeating the My Sharona part for Al to like come up with My Bologna. But they reference it where like they're like something's wrong with like and they're like hitting the radio.
Yeah, it's not just happening in his head, it's happening in real
Yes.
life. Which yeah, so which also good placement by Oscar Mayer in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, so he comes up with the song and we get his first like he busts out the accordion, starts playing it, and they're all like, "Oh my god, that is so great!" And they're like, "We have to record this and start doing it." This is another real thing where he recorded this in the bathroom at a bus station because of the acoustics and because he didn't have like an actual studio.
Money to get a studio, yeah.
And he did send it into the radio, and they did play it. Not this quick though. This is like they come back in from mailing it and they're like, we just got
Yeah.
this a few minutes ago,
And it's
and
the most requested song of the week.
yeah,
When I just got this in the mail 2 minutes ago.
yeah. How do people already know about this song to be requesting it? And they start like tearing the house down, having a good time celebrating. And he goes to the Scotty brothers, who were real record company. That Weird Al did work for. And this is where Al is actually playing his character. He plays Tony Scotti here. And we have Will Forte playing his brother, who goes overboard all the time when he's like telling Al how awful he is.
I I didn't recognize that was actually Al because I'm so used to seeing him with the mustache.
Yeah, yeah. He shaved it off in like the 90s. Now he goes without the mustache.
I didn't know that. I thought he still had the
Yeah.
mustache.
Nope. And he's got long hair instead of curly hair now.
What is he doing?
Yeah, he rebranded in the 90s.
Where the hell have I been for like the last 30 years?
I don't know. But yeah, so he's got the he's got like a wig on to have the shorter hair, and he's mustache free. But yeah, this is Weird Al's role here. Um, and they're telling him that he sucks. Like, you got to get more than one song. Like, why'd you come in here with one song? So he has to go back out there and start working on it a little bit more and get more experience. And this is where he goes to a biker bar, and they're like, "Yeah, get in front of some live audiences." He goes to a biker bar, and Dr. Demento is there for some reason, and so is Patton Oswalt's character,
Yeah,
and
I was gonna
they
say we get Patton Oswalt as a cameo by him here.
Yeah, I think Patton Oswalt was supposed to play Dr. Demento.
I think I saw that, and I
He got
I
COVID.
read that he broke his ankle or something and couldn't. Yeah, there was a bunch of things that happened with this where people were supposed to play other parts and then couldn't.
Yeah, they had a tight time frame to film this thing.
They
So
filmed it in like 3 weeks or something.
yeah, it was a quick film, and so Oswald was able to come back in as a different role, and that's why he's kind of filmed, I think, by himself with not like anybody else there. They could just insert it uh into the movie at a certain point. But he goes to the biker bar and starts playing Rocky Road, a parody of I Love Rock and Roll. And this is where the bandmates come on they're like, "Oh man, he's struggling. We got to help him." And I think it's so funny. Al gets off. He's like, "I didn't know you guys could play like that." Yeah, we never thought it was relevant.
So
Never
now,
thought it was
yeah,
relevant when he's looking for a band to play in. But yeah, so he sings Rocky Road, and gets Dr. Demento's wants to be his mentor,
which
and
I didn't know Dr. Demento was a real dude.
yeah, that is actually he had like this radio show that Weird Al used to listen to all the time, and he used to play some of the Weird Al songs when he would send them in, and he was like his real mentor, and yeah, pretty cool. So they have this like pool party thing. This didn't really happen, but
Really? Man.
yes, with all these people here, this did not really happen. We get Let me get the list of people that kind of show up here. We have
Andy Warhol,
Andy Warhol. Yeah, that's Conan O'Brien.
who is getting a whole bunch of love on Twitter and everything recently because of his appearance on Hot Ones that he just
Yes.
had. And people are finally realizing like how funny and I guess what a genuinely decent dude Conan O'Brien really is. And the fact that he's like 6'5", he's a tall dude.
Yeah. We have Yorma Tacone from The Lonely Island in SNL playing Pee Wee Herman. He nailed that role, by the way. Perfect Pee Wee Herman. We have Nina West, who is a American drag queen playing Divine, which was an American drag queen. So that tracks. We have Akiva Schaffer from The Lonely Island playing Alice Cooper. David Dastmalchian is playing John Deacon from Queen, if you didn't know that. Paul F. Tompkins plays Gallagher, which I think is a great casting.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's perfect.
Dimitri
Uh,
Martin played Tiny Tim, who I was not familiar with, but he's a musician from the 60s.
Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
And Emo Phillips playing Salvador Dali.
You also had someone playing Grace Jones in there. Um,
Jack
there's a
Black
couple.
is Wolfman Jack.
Yeah. Um, man, that would have been a hell of a pool party if something like that actually could have happened. But
Yeah, and I think they talked about filming it, and like that was like a crazy day where they had to get like I forget what it was like. They filmed that like very quickly, that scene, and it was a scene that they had to have so many people come in. Like, I think Andy Samberg couldn't make it. I think he was supposed to be somebody because they were going to have all three Lonely Island in it, and uh, just couldn't unfortunately make it to the filming of that scene. And they really only had the pool for like a certain length of time, so they really had to
yeah,
like get this
just
in.
get whoever we can, and we'll figure. We'll go from there.
And I just love like these comedians, right? This budget is $8 million. none of these are taking like big paychecks, but they just show appreciation to Al and just want to, have some fun, play a different character. Like Jack Black kills it in this role, and he's in it for like 3 minutes, if that.
Same thing with Conan O'Brien as Andy Warhol.
Yes.
He's in like 3 scenes and that's it.
And yeah, so Jack Black is playing Wolfman Jack, who's like a rival to Dr. Demento. And he is like, this guy sucks. Like, I heard your music, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, if you're really good, you have to make up a parody on the spot. And that's where John Deacon comes in, and nobody recognizes him from Queen because he is like the most obscure member of Queen.
Which, from what I read on IMDb, they wanted to include Freddie Mercury, but the people from Queen were like, "No, we'll give you John
they
Deacon.
couldn't get permission. Yeah,
We'll give you John Deacon." So you take who you can get. But
and that's probably references to this too, where they're like John Deacon. They're probably like, what?
I'm in Queen. I wrote the song.
Yes,
Oh,
and he's
okay.
like, another one bites the dust. Make a parody of that. And Al is kind of put on the spot here. He's like, get my accordion, and then they start playing. And this is kind of half real here. Like the hand motion the one band member is making is actually in the backtrack. You have the
Yeah,
one banging on the like
the
that's what
case.
they did. That's how they made that song. And they were very low tech back then when they were starting out. So that is partly true, I'll say there. But he makes them all kind of, no pun intended here, eat it, right? So they end up having to
Oh,
like Wolfman Jack's like, he is actually good. It brings a tear to my eye or whatever, and ends up leaving.
Before we move on, so another one bites the dust. Have you ever seen the Queen commercial? So there used to be this company called Iowa that made like CD players and tape decks and like car stereos and stuff like that. Have you ever seen uh have you ever seen they had a commercial at one point. Have you ever seen their commercial?
No.
Okay. That's not supposed to be happening. Stop that. So which I know Queen's very protective of their stuff. I don't know how they did it. They made a commercial with another one bites the dust where it is one of the funniest commercials I've ever seen in my life. And I saw this as a kid, especially when Iowa was really big.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, it cracks me up.
Let me see.
And especially as you're watching it, when it first starts, you don't know what's going on, and then when it kicks in, you're like, oh my god.
That's funny.
When at one point in my life, I was like, when I go, that's what I want to happen to me.
Yeah, playing that song while you're getting
I,
driven to in the hearse.
Look, hey, it's true in that aspect, but
Yeah, another one rides the bus. That is a very, I'll say, underrated Weird Al parody.
I think I've heard of it before, but I never really heard the song until the movie.
Yeah, I don't think he sings the whole thing in this, but it's it's a good
Okay,
bit.
was there? Do you know if there was ever a video for that one or no?
No, I had a DVD that had all of his videos in it. There was no video for that one.
And what I also didn't know until later in the movie, and I was looking up stuff, was that it was actually Weird Al saying these things. I thought maybe Daniel Radcliffe was doing it. I was like,
Oh
damn,
yeah,
this guy's good
it's Weird Al dubbing
himself.
over.
Yeah,
Yes, it's dubbing over Radcliffe. Um, But Radcliffe matches it pretty well, and it looks like he's actually singing.
And apparently, he actually did learn to play the accordion, not maybe to Weird Al
Yes.
levels, but he did learn to play it enough to to actually do a few things and pass, you know, to pass off during the movie. So that's some dedication. I don't know if he'll ever use that skill again in his life, but
So then they kind of do like a big jump in time here where he gets his record contract. His debut album goes multi-platinum. And the
five
original
times.
artist, yeah, the original artist experienced a Yankovic bump in record sales, and Al is being like interviewed by Oprah and all that. This is partly true, I'll say. Yankovic bump didn't really have a name, but it was sort of real. The artist would recognize that their sales would kind of go up after a parody by Weird Al, because then people would want to hear the original version. It would just get like that back in the like zeitgeist a bit of like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that song, like yeah,
I think somebody said they won a Grammy, probably won it because of Weird Al's. I forget who it was, but somebody said when they won their Grammy, it was probably because of Weird Al's parodying of their song. Um, a couple other people did say he probably contributed probably a million more sales or so to their albums or songs release because of, like you said, a whole different subsection of people would hear the Weird Al version and then, oh man, what is this based off of? Let me see the real thing, and then
right, yeah,
still
and it
wish he
get
could have
like
done
it,
some Prince stuff.
yeah. Then he probably would have been getting even more sales. That's how you have to sell it to the artist. It's like, hey, you're gonna get that Yankovic bump, all right? So this kind of becomes a plot point as well here. But before that, he calls home and finds that like his dad, his mom's like, your dad wanted me to tell you he's still very much not proud of you, which is just a terrible line. And him and Dr. Demento decide that they should be, maybe he should try an original song. And he eats this chip that has salsa on it that's like LSD or something.
Guacamole, yeah.
Yeah, like guacamole. One thing that I noticed more in this, Rainn Wilson must not have been able to film a certain day with them or something, because each time he looks down the hallway, Dr. Demento's in the tub, but you never see them in this scene like actually
Together.
next to each other. Yeah, so I wonder if like they had to like shoot it a certain way in case if Rainn wasn't available for a certain time or
Or
something.
maybe COVID. I don't know what happened. Maybe COVID protocols.
Yeah, because they were following those pretty strictly on this, but yeah. So then he gets the LSD and he starts, coming up with a song, and he comes up with "Eat It," an original, non-parody song.
He
Eat It.
wrote and He wrote and composed the music in words all by himself.
Yes. This was funny. This is where I would say the story really gets
Weird
off.
Alified.
Yeah, it really starts going off track here because it's gonna go wild from here. But yeah, they make this a "Eat It" as being his own original song that then Michael Jackson will make a parody of called "Beat It." Um, and I love that when he says, like when he's at dinner and they're like, he made a version of "Eat It." It's called "Beat It." He's like, oh, like, what is it about eggs? And it's like, no, I don't think it's food related at all. Like, because most of Weird Al's parodies are food related, so it's kind of like a dig at that a bit. Um, so we move on from uh, "Eat It." We get to see like it's very popular. He's got the music video. They show the real clip of the music video, and then we have Madonna, who comes knocking on his door and wants the Weird Al Yankovic bump. That's her whole goal in this. When
In
they're talking
more
about the Yankovic bump, you see her like watching the TV and being like, "Oh, that's like a
in more ways than one.
yeah." So she goes and like knocks on his door, and uh, I just love this whole exchange. He opens it up. She's like, "Weird Al," and he's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Madonna." and then he knows everything about, like, he acts like he has no clue, and he's like, it's like a normal film. This type of stuff happens, where it's like, who are you? And then they're like telling you everything you need to know. And then he knows everything about Madonna and goes like on and on and on. But just interesting here. They start going at it, having sex and all that stuff. But they start a relationship. She's trying to convince him to make a parody of Like a Virgin. At this point, he doesn't want to do any parodies anymore because of the Beat It thing. And this is where I was saying he was poking fun at himself too. This is when Tony is calling him about the parody of Beat It. He's like, who would take that? Who would take somebody's words and change them to their own? And it's like, this is exactly what you've done. And he's like, I'll be forever tied to this guy. And you have Tony, who's played by Weird Al's like, I don't think that's actually that bad of a thing. It seems, like it's Weird Al kind of mentioning that himself there. I also love when he said done by Michael Jackson, and Weird Al was like, the kid from the Jackson 5?
Yeah. Actually,
like he was already known at this part.
Actually, he's got a pretty decent solo career going.
Yes. So, so that ends up being, he gets into she gets him to start drinking, right? Like he doesn't drink, and Madonna starts making him drink. And he gets into a near fatal car accident, is rushed to the hospital. That's where we catch up to the original opening of the movie.
And that's how we get Like a Surgeon.
Yes, he wakes up, and it's like repeatedly throughout this movie, somebody will say a line from the song that then kicks him into gear. Like when it was My Bologna, his friend says, open up a package of My Bologna. And that's like the first words of the My Bologna, pretty much. Then you have
Fat.
Yeah, his mom says fat if you says some of the lines from Fat, and he just doesn't even say anything to that. I thought that was a funny bit of they're thinking you're thinking they're gonna do Fat at some point, and they don't touch it. And then in this one, Lin-Manuel Miranda says, "Nurse, better give me all your gauze, nurse," and that is like a line from Like a Surgeon. So. Then he just starts writing this stuff down and gets to a show, and he's doing Like a Surgeon. He's pushed away his friends. And it's funny, at one point they mentioned this, but I think he's only dating Madonna for like a few days at this point. Like this thing is like just escalated in just a couple of days.
Romance. The heart wants what the heart wants.
Because when he starts going on his killing spree later, he mentions like, I've never killed anyone like before last Thursday. So it's just like this whirlwind of a story here. But yeah, he premieres Like a Surgeon, and then they want him to do Eat It, and he kind of goes on this rant like a typical live show, like seeing in concert some guy drunk and like going off script here, but like his band is playing like music in the back to kind of give it a little bit of a tracking.
I think this was based off of Jim Morrison and the Doors.
Oh, I could see that, especially he's shirtless in this.
I think that scene was based off of something that actually happened with Jim Morrison and the Doors at some point. And I think it was in the Doors movie with Val Kilmer or something.
Oh, interesting. And then we get the whole thing where he's talking about whipping it out, and he's talking about the accordion. Do you want to see it? I'll whip it out. It's the accordion. And he's arrested for lewdness here, but he gets tackled by the cops as he's getting out the accordion. So they're at the diner afterwards, and he confesses to Madonna that he is like alienated everybody, and she's the only one he has left. And then she's immediately captured by Pablo Escobar, who's hinted what seems out of like nowhere, but it is hinted earlier when they're talking about the Yankovic bump that like Pablo Escobar
Is a
is a
huge
huge
fan.
Weird Al fan.
You'd be surprised what some of these people were fans of. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, you can actually go online and you can see what they found on Osama bin Laden's hard drive
Right,
from when they
right.
captured and killed him. And
It's like TV shows and stuff.
yeah, he was a fan of a lot of things. We when we went into Baghdad, uh, about this time, like 20 some odd years ago, 21 years ago, as a matter of fact, when we went into Baghdad and we ended up, my unit, my unit ended up taking over one of Saddam Hussein's palaces,
Oh
and
wow.
he was a big American movie buff. So we actually found like a bunch of TVs and VCRs and a bunch of like American VHS tapes and things. And
Dang.
some of them were like some stuff that was bought from like Blockbuster. Still had a couple of them still had like Blockbuster stickers on them and stuff. But you'd be surprised with some of these dictators or some of these people who are in
Yeah.
charge of things and drug lords are fans of. Like, I hate to say it, they're still people just like you and me in some ways. So
Mm-hmm.
like I can I don't know, but I could see someone like a Pablo Escobar like seeing some of Weird Al stuff and kind of maybe being a fan or whatever.
And Pablo Escobar, to our knowledge here, was not a fan of Weird Al. We don't know that, but it is just funny that this is kind of where they go, and that it was set up at the beginning, a little bit in this movie.
Look, the man had cocaine hippos. Who knows?
But we get Al then having to fight all of Escobar's men in the in the in the diner, and we just this turns full action movie here. He's
Yeah,
just going and like
this escalated real quick right here.
he puts the one guy's face in like the panini grill and like shuts it, rings the bells like order up. um, and then he has to go down to Colombia. We get the hey boy again as they're like, there's a guy down there. It's like, no, it's a hey boy, and then he just comes up behind him and starts fighting him. This is also great because I just noticed this time for some reason. But instead of wearing his Hawaiian shirt, it's a Hawaiian camo shirt that he is wearing as he's taking these guys on
Now,
and breaking into Escobar's
now do they ever
hideout.
say why he wears Hawaiian shirts all the time? Like, what is there a story behind that or
Just as a
what's?
style, yeah.
I've kind of heard that it's a very comfortable thing, and it's one of those. A couple people
It
I
can
talked
be.
to wear them. Say like, man, once you start wearing them, like you'll never go back. So
I think he probably wore it, and it just kind of became like a staple for him. And I'm sure, like probably in private, I don't know if he's wearing it all the time.
and I'm 45 now. I'm sure once I get to like real old man age of like 60, I might start rocking the. I don't think they're called Hawaiian shirts anymore. There's another term they use for them instead of Hawaiian. I forget what it is. Um, but I might start rocking them myself.
Yeah, I've worn one. I think I've only really worn one because they're expensive. They can be very expensive. But I got one at Goodwill for Hawaiian shirt day that we had at work, and
Aloha shirts.
it was nice. Like it was comfortable.
Aloha shirts is what they're called. And yeah, I looked up a couple because I was gonna go on vacation with someone I was dating a while back. So I looked up a couple online and then I saw they were like 60, 70, $80.
Yeah,
Like, and they go up from there and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like $70 for this? I don't know.
yeah, they can be very expensive. Um, okay, so he's wearing the Weird Al camo Hawaiian shirt. He breaks into Pablo Escobar's place, and it's his birthday, and he has Madonna here because he wanted to get Al to come to his birthday.
Yeah, because he was trying to get him there earlier, but he wouldn't go.
Yes,
When he was on the phone with his agent and he was trying to get him to do the parody songs. That was another one he was
yes.
trying to do was get him to Pablo Escobar's birthday.
And he, uh, he's like, I'm here for my woman. And then, what really pushes him over the edge, she's like, look, you're already here. Why don't you just sing a song? Like, like Eat It, the Beat It parody, and Weird Al with his gun is like, it's not a parody. He just starts open firing on all these people, and eventually everyone but Pablo Escobar, Madonna, and Al are dead, and Pablo Escobar is like, hey, like,
Dude,
let's
you
take
can
it
leave.
easy here.
You can leave whenever you want.
Yeah, you can just leave, and then he shoots him, and it's protected by the multi-platinum necklace he wears. And I love this this line of just ripping this thing off and being like, "Hey Escobar, eat it," and he just throws this thing into his head, pretty brutal. And then when he has to collect it, he's like, "Oh my god, this is so gross." And yeah, Madonna then has like this whole change of heart of like, we should just take over this
We can be
cartel,
drug lords.
which is just so out of left field. And Weird Al's like, no, I don't want that. But she's like, you've killed so many people. I know, I killed so many people this week. He says it with like a smile. Before last Thursday, I've never really killed anyone. But he decides to go home and get a job at the factory. And he asks the person, what do they make here? And he just like laughs it off. He has this conversation with his dad where his dad reveals he's got a Hawaiian shirt on underneath and he was weird as well.
And he also sees how dangerous the factory is. Because like within his first 5 minutes of working, somebody gets killed on the assembly line.
Yeah, and they don't even really care. Um, and so he goes home. He's having dinner with his mom. This is where like they'll mention fat a few times. Like she's got
Yeah.
the fat makeup on, and she says a line from Fat. I'm fat and you know it. And she's like, really? Like nothing? And they just move on. His dad shares his background that he was an Amish man, raised Amish, and had an accordion, went back to being Amish, and they shunned him for the accordion. He never went to see another accordion in his life, and he got an honest job at the factory, and he shares like this big stack of papers that Al at one point's like, do you have pictures? Like, do we really have to go through this whole stack of papers? And it's Amish Paradise. His dad wrote the song Amish Paradise.
Yeah, that one fell out of like the book or whatever, and he was trying to hide that one from him. Like, no, we don't need to look at that one. Let's put that one to the side. And then later we get, man, I should have kept those publishing rights.
Yeah. So it flashes to Weird Al singing Amish Paradise on the at the award show. It takes place in '85. That song is from the '90s. All right, so we're well off the reservation here at this point.
We're just going whatever sounds good at this point.
He makes up with his band. You got Dr. Demento. He makes up with
who was going to adopt
who wants
him.
to who wants to adopt them. And he's like, I really just made up with my dad. Like, this isn't the best time.
Never mind the fact that I'm a grown ass man right now, but like,
right. Weird Al wins the award. Like you said, Prince gets up and walks off.
Hold on. Time out. Let's take about 3 steps back. For the awards, you know what I got to pick with here.
Yes, Hulk Hogan.
Okay, we get Diana Ross and Hulk Hogan, and I get it. It's the Weird Al thing, so he just is going to take a whole bunch of creative liberties. I get it, but I just can't allow this one to stay. Hulk Hogan was never an Intercontinental Champion. Okay, he was a World Champion, but he was never Intercontinental Champion. That's the second. It's World Champion was your top belt. Intercontinental Champion was your belt below that, and I was kind of more of like a more working wrestlers type champion, of someone who actually like wasn't necessarily as big or as they were better wrestlers as compared to someone like a Hulk Hogan was.
Oh, okay.
And also a lot of times that was something that you worked your way up. Eventually, you would work your way up and become Intercontinental Champion, and then once you lost that belt, then you eventually at some point down the road you could challenge for the World Championship. And as far as I know, he only challenged for the Intercontinental Championship once. That was at WrestleMania 6, where he fought against Ultimate Warrior. where it was champion versus champion, title for title. So whoever won walked out of that WrestleMania as a double champion, and the Ultimate Warrior won. I know that's irrelevant, and I know nobody really cares about that. Sorry, I had to go on this diatribe for the last couple of minutes. But WrestleMania was just last week, so I'm kind of in the wrestling mood. And then when I saw that, I was like, I cannot allow this farce to stand.
Yeah, that none of that made sense to me
Nobody
at all.
cared about it. I get it, but I just had to get that off my chest.
We're now wins the award. We see Madonna as the leader of the drug cartel. She's got an eye patch and everything, and she's got a sniper who comes in and or some sort of assassin assassinates Weird Al in 1985, and that is the end of Al's story. Though he does come back when Madonna's at the grave as a zombie. That's it. We get the. Did you listen to the song at the credits at all or no?
A little bit, but I figured it wasn't like a post credit scene. So once the credits kind of started going, I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, he pretty much just sings a song about like it's called "Now You Know," and it's just talking about like how now we know the story of him in this, but references a part where he's like, "How about that part where I died?" or like I was pretty surprised, all that kind of stuff. Because obviously Weird Al is still with us. But yeah, that is the the Al Yankovic story, COVID era filmed, released on Roku. It got a Blu-ray release, 4K even. I was watching that on my 4K Blu-ray, and it was pretty great.
I saw it in 4K on Amazon. When I rented it, I got the 4K version on Amazon.
Yeah, that's good. Not every movie gets that anymore. So I think Weird Al was part of that. I think he wanted to have it released. If you're Roku too, it's like you're gonna get money from the collectors after you put it out there, and like the regular people would just go watch it on your Roku service, like whatever. I think you're missing money if you don't put out a physical copy. But yeah, so that's the movie. I guess let me look up the. You know what I realized? I did not do this on the Field of Dreams, the Rotten Tomatoes score and all that.
I'm pretty
You
sure
did
that
it for
one was
your
fairly
last one.
high. I'm pretty sure that one was fairly high.
Yes, I think so.
But yeah, Field of Dreams has a pretty good. If I had to guess, I'd say Field of Dreams had pretty good scores.
Okay, so let's look at Weird. It's got 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, 80% audience score. Over on IMDb, this movie I believe was like a
6.8
star
or 9 or something like that. 6.9 maybe, somewhere in there.
It is a 6.9, yeah. Out of 10. It's got a 70 meta score. When I first watched it, I rated it a 5. I probably would lower it now to like a 4, 4.5, somewhere around that. But what say you, KC, on Weird, the Al Yankovic story?
So, like I said, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I thought this was going to be an actual biopic. And I kind of wouldn't mind seeing like what really happened. But from what I gather, his life has actually just been kind of non-eventful and boring. So it may not really translate to a biopic pretty well. I give it a 3.5. Not bad. Like I said, just wasn't what I expected. And then at some point, it really, like you said, it just really went way off the rails when we start getting Weird Al as John Wick over here fighting in a diner, and then kind of has to work his way up to the final boss where the big guy, the cook, comes out. That's the one who gets put in the panini press.
Yes,
and everything.
Order up.
And I was just like, wait, what is happening here? Like,
to be honest, that's my favorite part. My part, like for me, where it is slower is like the young Al and teenage Al stuff. But once we get to like the actual like adulthood onward, I really have a good time. Especially when it does go off the rails. I remember the first time I was watching this, I had no clue what to expect. Like I knew it was a parody, but when we start going into the him fighting in a diner and Pablo Escobar and all this stuff, I was like just laughing like crazy, having a good time because I was like, "What is this? This is not what I expected at all." But I could see how that could work the other way too. I would probably lower it, my score now, but
And I'm not saying it was bad, but it was just that wasn't an expectation or anything that I
right,
thought of or was, but wasn't bad. I'll be honest. I mean, I don't think it's something I don't think it's something I would watch again, like go out of my way to watch again. I think
right,
this seems like one of those cable movies, like if people still had cable, where I
yeah,
could see
yeah,
it on like a TBS, a TNT, Comedy Central or something. Or if you're flipping through and you catch it at the right point, if there's nothing really much else on, I might leave it on there. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
flip through and maybe I catch it right at or right before the fight scene. Like, oh yeah, that's right. This is that Weird Al movie. You know.
yeah.
Um
It had really good choreography for a comedy. Um, the I think Daniel Radcliffe did a really good job here, by the way, too.
oh, he did fantastic.
Yeah, he is probably he's at this point after Harry Potter where he's just been able to take on whatever movie he's wanted to do and just have a good time, and that's what he's doing, and he's loving his life that way, and it's great. But yeah, so that about wraps us up. Any other last thoughts on the movie?
No, no, it was a fine movie. No real complaints. Other than my wrestling diatribe there, but no issues with it. Um, so as we end season one here, right? We've
Yeah,
given our different ratings to everything. What have you thought overall of the movies I picked for you? What is your
that's a good question. Let me pull up my letterboxed where I store all this stuff and kind of look through. Well, this is a good idea, Casey. We're ending the season. Let's kind of give. I'll kind of give you my favorite of the movies you've given me, and I'll yeah, let's go with that. Probably my favorite of the movies that you've given me. So, let's see, you had me watch Pulp Fiction, The Goonies, 13 Ghosts, Terminator, Terminator 2, Terminator 3, Scrooged, Austin Powers, Gladiator, Spaceballs, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Interstellar. And then, of course, the wrestling matches that are not on here. I would say, I think my favorite of these was probably. Okay, right now I'll give you my top three:
okay?
Terminator 2, Gladiator, and Interstellar. I think were my top three of the ones that you have given me. And I would say, depending on the day, it would probably be one of those three that are my favorite out of those. The highest I rate it was Gladiator with 5 stars,
Yeah,
and we're getting Gladiator 2 later this year. I heard the footage of that was pretty good at the Paramount panel that they did.
CinemaCon, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I would say it depending on the day, it's one of those three. But those are the three I think are the best that you given.
And two of them you can find on cable almost at any point. Like at some point you can be scrolling around on, especially now with satellite cable where you have like 600 channels. You can be
Mm-hmm.
scrolling around and find either like Gladiator or what was the other one? Not Interstellar. Terminator 2.
T2.
At some point you might be able to find them on one of these channels. Especially now, I think they might actually be able to classify for like Turner Classic for Christ's sake.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are my top three of the ones you've given me.
Now I don't have a list. What did you have me watch and rate?
Um, Good question. Let me just pull it up real quick here. I had given you, if it loads.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm really surprised you didn't like the Goonies. That one is the one that surprised me the most because I
I did
figured you
like it.
would have.
I just don't have it as like the top of the
I
top.
figured that would have been like a 5-star movie for you. That one was probably my most surprising.
All right, so I gave you Airplane, Rogue One, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, uh, Rat Race, The Office Christmas episode, and a couple around there. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Suicide Squad, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and Field of Dreams, and now this one.
Okay, my top three are gonna be Spider Verse, Afterlife, and I'd probably say Airplane because I still can't believe I've never watched Airplane.
Yeah, that one's great.
Um, and I'd say either Afterlife or Spider Verse are probably my definitely like probably a one A 1B type thing. You know,
Yeah, you gave both of
for
those
me,
5 stars.
those were both fantastic.
Wow, we've done a lot. We have done a lot.
Yeah, well, remember we were going every week for a while there too,
Yeah,
and that was racking them up.
yeah, because we've done. Let's see, that was. This is like episode 26 or something. So we've done like, if we would have done every other week to begin with, that would be half a year of episodes. So yeah, but for a while we were really racking them up.
Yeah, especially trying to crank out Lord of the Rings on like a Saturday night or a Sunday morning, the extended version, trying to crank out 3 or 4 hours on Saturday night or
Yeah,
Sunday morning before coming on here was a little rough at times. But I think we got a better system going.
yeah, yeah. So we'll continue going bi-weekly. We'll start up season 2 another time. I think that'll help too. Just kind of like, all right, let's refresh, let's recharge. We'll figure out more. We'll have to reshare some lists again. I think of like what we haven't seen and what we've seen, what we own,
Yeah, we'll probably have to go
kind of stuff
through
like
it
that.
and because I'm further collecting more Blu-rays and
Right, right.
UHDs as time goes on. So before we start up the next season, we'll probably share those lists again with each other, and then from there we can look at it and try and plan out how where we're gonna go. But I've enjoyed the season so far.
Yeah, this is good. So I think we'll do that at the end of every season. We'll share maybe our top 3. And what I'll try to do maybe too, if I can, if I have the time, when this episode drops, I'll kind of put at the end of like the show notes. So look to see if it's there, guys. Um, I'll put in the show notes our average score for what we have given
Hmm.
the projects that each other was given. So I'm not going to factor in my ratings of the ones I picked, but like on a movie Casey gives me, what's the average rating? And I'll put that in the notes for the end of each season or something. And I think that's a pretty cool way of saying like, hey, how much did we like the stuff that each one shared? So that should be fun. But you can follow us on the social medias, which are listed below. You can also rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Like and subscribe to us here on YouTube, where we now have like 45 or more subscribers. So we are killing it over there. So thank you all for
Thanks for
watching
subscribing,
along and
peoples.
subscribing. Make sure you like the video. You can comment, tell us your thoughts on the movies, all that good jazz. And maybe we can even come back and just, if we get enough of those, share what people thought about the movies we picked. Could be good. But yeah, thank you all for watching and listening. We'll be back next time when we launch season 2 with Casey's pick, which I don't know yet.